Hi, I'm Caroline Mitchell, canine behaviourist at Good Doggy. So I was inspired to make this video when I just recently saw a post on Facebook. You might have seen posts like this, or you might have made one of your own even. The post was looking for recommendations for people in my local area for somebody to help them with their dog. Their dog had separation anxiety. And there was a huge list of people that had been mentioned underneath this post. But what was most surprising was actually when I looked through the list of people that a big proportion of these people weren't actually even behaviourists. And the ones that were there, the behaviourists and trainers, there was a huge variety of different kinds of techniques that were being used, different methods and different styles of training. And I think that from experience and talking to my own clients, there's a real kind of misunderstanding about how much of a difference there is between different types of professionals, not just between trainers and behaviourists, but also the methods that they use. And I kind of considered how somebody would even choose, if you didn't have any idea that that was even a thing, when you just presented with this long old list of things, how do you choose which one is going to be right for you? So I wanted to make this video so that I could kind of go through some of the different types of approaches and how to choose the right professional that is going to be right for your dog, who's going to teach you the techniques that you want for your dog. I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of online versus in person, trainers versus behaviourists, send away training, and all different things like that. But before I go into that, I would like to just send a little message from me, because there is such a huge variety of behaviourists and trainers available, and I will try to be biased in the way that I present this video to you, but I am a reward-based trainer and I only advocate reward-based techniques. So I don't want you to think when you're watching this video that I'm advocating any other techniques. I'm just really just putting all of the information out there because everybody has different requirements. Everybody wants different things. Everybody has different values and everyone wants to do things in a different way. And when you end up with the wrong trainer, that can be quite disappointing. So I don't use force methods. I don't use fear to train dogs. If you want to look more into that kind of stuff, then I've done a video called "Is there really such a thing as a dominant dog?" and you'll find more in there about why I choose the methods I choose. But that's just me. Not all professionals, as I say, suit all needs. So whatever your style and values are, whatever you're looking for, here's how to find the right person for you. I don't want you to be sitting in front of a behaviourist like many of my clients are, regretting a choice that they had made when they didn't realise they actually had such a big choice. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a trainer versus a behaviourist, because there's a difference between these two. And I often see, as I say, people looking for recommendations, and a lot of the recommendations that come up are trainers, when actually what they need is help from a behaviourist because they're having behavioural issues. So there's quite a big difference between the two. So a trainer, that person is an expert in teaching new cues and new skills. They teach things like loose lead training, they'll do recall, they teach cues like sit, place, weave, if you want to teach your dog tricks or agility, stuff like that. So a trainer is the person to go through for things like this. Typically this might be in a class, but not always. Trainers do also work one-to-one with people, but often you'll find in a class situation, it will be that kind of training that you're going for. So this is good for teaching new skills. A behaviourist works more on an emotional level. So rather than teaching specific behaviours, their job is to help dogs cope better. For example, reactive behaviour, separation anxiety, resource guarding. These kinds of things are often done more on a one-to-one basis because each dog is very specific in how they will respond to their environments, things they can cope with. There's such a big variety of difference. So often that's done on a one-to-one basis. Again, not always. But when you're thinking about the two in comparison to each other, think about your trainer as being a teacher and your behaviourist as being a counsellor. So if your dog doesn't know how to do something, if they don't know how to sit, if they don't know how to do a recall, then a trainer is the person that you need. If they do know these things, but they're too distracted, or they're too hyper, or they're too scared, too overwhelmed, too reactive, too angry, then you need a behaviourist. So it's really kind of a bit of a difference between can do and won't do. So when you're thinking about the problem you're trying to solve, do you need to just teach your dog some new skills, or is your dog not able to do the things that they can already do if they're distracted or angry? So in the first instance, you would need a trainer. The second one, you would need a behaviourist. So once you've decided whether you want a trainer or a behaviourist, now your next question is, what kind do I want? Because there are plenty of different methods and techniques and ideologies and things like that that go into behaviour and training methods. No two are the same. There's a huge array of styles and methods. When you're looking for somebody, you're going to be looking for somebody who is going to share your values, who is going to teach your dog in a way that you want to teach your dog and you way you want your dog to learn. So we have a scale of techniques here. At one end of the scale, we have your punishment-focused methods, and at the other, we have our positive-focused methods. And then in between, there's a big old range. In the middle, you might have your balanced trainer, who uses both. So they will use punishment and reward-based methods together. So your punishment-based trainers and behaviorists, they use techniques which are based on creating fear, essentially. They are trying to create an environment where your dog doesn't want to perform a behavior because they're afraid that of whatever consequence might come from that. They offer often much quicker fixes, and the more aversive or the more punishment-based the techniques, the faster they will promise the result, because that's a faster way to achieve something. If you're afraid to do something, then that is quite powerful. These types of trainers will often recommend tools like prong collars and e-collars, and they'll use techniques like heel kicks, lead jerks, alpha rolls, and things like that. So when you're looking through their kind of social media and things like that, you'll know that they're that kind of trainer because they'll use language like dominate, obey, stem, referring to the e-collar. They'll use words like correction and consequence. They might say that people mollycoddle their dogs or things like that. They might use words like defiant or alpha. They believe a lot in alpha theories, in pack structure. So that's the kind of language you'll see from them. The very other end of the scale, your reward-based trainers and behaviorists, they're the opposite. So they will work with tools like clickers and treats and toys. These trainers like to work within a dog's comfort zone. So they're not about creating a fear to prevent a behavior from happening. They're using a reward to help a dog choose a better behavior. So the more rewarding a dog finds a behavior, the more likely they are to choose that, and that then creates the new behavior that you're looking for. These types of trainers will often use an assessment as a part of the process, and they will have a range of techniques that they will choose that will suit your dog and suit the situation best. So they will have a much bigger range of tools that they will use in different types of games they might introduce or things like that. They will obviously prefer to work over a number of sessions. When you use this kind of method, it's not a quick fix. It's not about creating fear to prevent a problem. You're helping a dog choose a new behavior, which sometimes can feel like it takes a little bit longer. These types of trainers and behaviorists will be trying to build confidence and resilience and avoiding fear. So they will use words and language like desensitize, encourage, resilience, trust. They'll talk about a dog being anxious. They'll use positive training. They will be trying to help dogs cope. They'll be using words like management, where you help a dog by creating an environment that they will succeed in. And they'll talk about the dog's individuality as well. And as I said, there's your balance trainers, which will use a bit of both to various degrees. They will punish a dog for doing the wrong thing and then follow up with a reward for the right thing. And amongst all of these guys, you'll find different types of trainers that also have their own kind of ideology. So some trainers don't believe in using things like crates or long lines. They don't like to set boundaries. These types of trainers won't ever say no to their dog. Some people don't believe in allowing their dogs to mix with other dogs. They believe all dogs should be neutral in their environment and not really engaging with people or dogs. They're all about just you and the owner. And some believe that dogs shouldn't be given treats or rewarded. They believe that that is almost kind of bribing the dog. So that for them, they are all about praise and they believe that's all a dog needs. So, and there's loads of others as well. I'm sure when you start to really look for this, you'll start to find lots of people. And some of the techniques you read about, you'll feel, look and sound ridiculous. And some of them will really resonate with you and they'll appeal to you and your sense of how you would like to be with your dog and how you would like to change their behavior and train them to do new things. So, a lot of it is about that and finding the right person for you. So if you think that you found somebody that you might be interested in working with, you really need to start then thinking about checking them out. Look up their social media pages. Pretty much everybody these days has at least one. Maybe they have Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or LinkedIn or whichever one that they are on. Go on there and you'll start to find out more about them. Again, their values will come through in their social media and the posts they make, and also look at the way people interact with them in the comments as well. They'll perhaps have a website as well, which might give some indication as to the types of techniques they use and the type of person they are. what kind of pictures are they sharing, that kind of thing. Look out for their videos, blogs, podcasts, anything like that. In particular, will give you a big insight into the type of training methods that they advocate for and the type of methods they like to use, because they'll be talking about them, they'll be talking about the results they get from their dogs. Are they very positive even in the way that they talk on their social media? Do you feel like they're very positive towards their clients, or will they be quick to tell their clients off? This is often something that people will come to me and they'll find from a trainer that uses punishment-based methods that kind of attitude will roll into their own behavior towards people as well. So they'll be quick to tell you off if you've done something that they didn't want and things like that. So that can happen, whereas a more positive trainer will use also, again, those kind of encouraging, confidence building tricks and techniques to help you succeed as well. So look at that, the kind of interactions they have, and that will give you some kind of insight into their methods and values. That's really important. And then start looking through their reviews. There should be reviews somewhere online for them. It might be on Google, it might be on their website, it might be on Facebook or somewhere like that. People will obviously comment. If there's pictures of their own dog shared, they might give some comment on there that will give you some insight. And failing that, start asking around. So, a lot of the dog trainers, certainly in my area, would be well known between dog walkers and vets and people like that. And there will be local groups as well that you can go onto Facebook where you can ask people for recommendations and proper reviews about how they've worked with somebody and how that's worked for them and things like that. So that's really, really important. So you've checked out the type of trainer or behaviorist, the kind of methods they use. Once you're satisfied with their reviews, then you might be considering whether you should be working with somebody online or in person. Online started really to take off during lockdown when there wasn't very many options. We didn't get to go to classes, we didn't get to meet people face to face. So online became a kind of a, it'll do solution. But since then, online training has improved a lot. We've all figured out how to do it better. We practiced it quite a bit during lockdown. So online training is not the poorer choice anymore. In fact, actually it gives you a lot more choice. If you are very specific about the kind of trainer you want to use, you might find that you end up searching different areas, even different countries. People come to me from different countries because they find my videos. They think that I share the same values as them. They're very interested in the kind of techniques and methods that I use and the way that I work. So, I have people from Norway and Ireland, and just recently somebody in New Zealand come to me specifically because I share those values that they're looking for. So once you consider online as an option, you can start considering people from anywhere you like that offers this service. So that can be much more specific to your needs as well. Not only that, it's really good for people that perhaps don't want somebody to come and visit them at home. And there's lots of benefits. For example, maybe your dog's very anxious of strangers, and actually having somebody to visit you at home might really upset them. It might really set them back. Perhaps you're an anxious person and you would rather not have a visitor into your home as well. So perhaps it would suit you. Another big advantage to doing it online is often the videos are recorded, so you can always watch them back. So you don't feel the pressure to try and take everything in during your sessions. You can record the videos, you can watch them back as many times as you want, and really familiarize yourself with things that you're supposed to be doing. So that's really, really useful, and a lot of people find that very helpful because they just don't have to miss anything. Another thing is, a part of that process is actually watching videos that have already been made by the client, by you. So you would make videos of your dog. Hopefully your behaviorist is asking you to make videos of them when they're at their best, and also, when they're showing the behaviors that you would like to get help with. So you'll be able to see very quickly exactly the stuff that you need to see. In a face-to-face consultation, often you have to wait for things to happen. So this can take a lot longer. For example, if you're working with a dog that's reactive, then part of that consultation will be to go out and actually see them in the presence of another dog, if that's what they're reactive to, or a bike, or whatever their trigger is. So you're kind of at the mercy of the world around you. If the weather's not great, that could affect how many people are out. The time of day can affect the number of people that you might come across. And just in general, maybe, it wouldn't be the first time for me that I've walked around and not found any dogs, or just found one. And of course, typically on that day, that would be the dog that they're not worried about. So when you actually have a video, you get straight to the point really, really quickly. But a bigger advantage is that when you're watching a video of a dog that's showing a behavior that you're trying to change, often what you'll see is before the trigger comes into the video, then the dog's obviously at their neutral state, and then you'll be able to watch the video as that changes. As the trigger starts to create a reaction, that behavior will escalate and it will get to a certain peak. And if you've got a good video, then you'll also have the bit afterwards as well, where the dog tries to settle themselves once the trigger has passed and they're trying to kind of fix themselves. The before and after is so important. And when you have a video that you're looking at with your client, as opposed to it being in real life, you can pause that, you can rewind it, and you can slow it down. So there's loads of different ways you can do with this video to help demonstrate the bits that you're looking for. And if you feel like you've just missed it, if you blink and miss the wrong thing, when you've got a video in front of you, you just rewind it and rewatch it. So that's really helpful to me. I love to be able to see that video, and especially to see the beginning and the after, and to be able to replay it over and over and over again and show the change in the body language, the shape, the change in the dog's sort of their tone and their demeanor and everything about them, you know, as the behavior changes. When you slow it down, you can see it, and it's really quite useful to see that, but the coping bit at the end as well. So you can show them how your dog likes to cope and fix things, you know. So that's very, very useful if you're doing online training. Getting that timing right and finessing things is much easier when you're using a video. Also, often it's a bit cheaper because there's no travel involved. Your behaviourist or trainer doesn't have to travel to and from your home. There's no gap in between and things like that. And, you know, you can be really cozy and relaxed doing it. You're not dependent on the weather. You're not dependent on your dog being fit and well on that moment. And you can just sit there in your pajamas if you want to, having a glass of wine, rather than you know, feeling like you have to get dressed and ready to go out and start trudging the streets. In person obviously has its own advantages as well. So whenever you're practicing a technique with an in-person trainer, they will be able to demonstrate it to you in a much better way. They will be able to tell you when you're getting it right or wrong. So there's obviously benefits to that. But as I say, you could spend ages just walking between one thing and another. So often these sessions will be longer as well. So your online sessions tend to be a bit shorter because you are getting straight to the point. You're looking at the things you need to look at. Whereas if you were doing a in-person session, you might find yourself walking around the streets for ages looking for something to happen, which can take extra time. So again, that might mean that it's a bit longer and the sessions therefore are a bit more expensive because you're spending twice the amount of time with a behaviourist, but sometimes not really doing anything. So those are your kind of in-person versus online advantages and disadvantages really. So you can kind of look at that and think about what suits your needs best. If you feel like you've done a lot of work with your dog already, then you might find an in-person solution suits you better because you feel like maybe then if you've been doing it wrong in the past, then the trainer will be able to correct you from getting it right. But it's really, again, it's just about your needs and what resonates for you and what you think is going to work best for you and your dog, of course. Another option I mentioned at the top of the video there is send away training. So some trainers and behaviourists offer this, and basically what this is where you send your dog away for a period of time. Usually it would be a couple of weeks, up to a couple of months, depending on what kind of work you would like them to do for your dog. And then the idea is that while the dog's away, they will do all of this work for you. And then when you come back to pick up your dog in a few weeks time, you'll find that your dog is all well trained and all of those behaviours that you were worried about are now all gone away. If this is something that you're considering, then do your research really, really well. Once you've handed your dog over to these people, you have completely lost control of what happens from that moment and for the next few weeks. You don't have any input there. With your in-person and your online trainers and behaviourists, they are just giving you advice, and they will advise you, show you how to do things. But at the end of the day, when you walk away from that session, whatever you do after that is entirely up to you. This doesn't happen with send away training. So you need to be 150% sure that these people are going to train your dog in a way that you would like them to train it. So you really need to deep dive their methods, their social medias, get reviews and recommendations. You have to be sure I have lost count of the number of people that have tried this type of training and have really regretted it because the dog has not received the kind of training methods they want. And it's obvious whenever the dog has come back to them that there's something has happened that they didn't like. Very often these places, again, not always, but very often they use much more aversive methods because they do have faster results. So dogs will come back maybe suffering some trauma, maybe some fear, and their knock-on effect, maybe they've lost weight. And this has happened an awful lot of times to me. When I'm called out to help with a trauma case, you can be sure that maybe a third of them have come from a send away training environment, and they've brought this trauma home with them. And you can tell, you know, what kind of methods they've used, because I know what aversive training does for a dog and I know why it works and how it works. So I can see when that's happened. You know, there's a real loss of connection between the dog and the person. They're not making eye contact. They don't respond to the normal things. Their routine is out of whack. You know, there's lots of different really subtle methods, even on a very low level, where it might not be obvious. So if that is something you are considering, really, really, really check their reviews. Check even in some other places, Google and Trustpilot in particular. Those reviews are very difficult to remove. So on Facebook, if a company gets lots of very negative reviews, they can just turn them off. You can't turn your reviews off on Trustpilot. If you have reviews on there, they are stuck there, whatever they say, unless those reviews are particularly disparaging and they've been able to prove that you weren't a customer or anything like that, they won't even consider taking reviews down. So those types of reviews can be trusted, you know. So check on there if they've got anything like that and make sure that it is what you want for your dog. Finally, on this kind of training as well, check what kind of handover and follow-up care they offer. Dogs behave differently for different people in different environments, in different places, with different techniques. So a dog can behave very anxious with one person and be very confident with another. This is normal. Dogs can be like this, you know. So be very sure that when they hand the dog over to you, they're going to tell you everything that they've done with your dog so that you can continue the training and the techniques that they've used. Because if you don't continue what they've started, then the dog will revert back to their old behavior with you. They'll be fine at send away, but they will not be fine at home because the environment hasn't changed, the people haven't changed. So those new behaviors the dog has learned will just disappear. So discuss that if you're going to do send away training, and be sure that they are going to support you through that transition process, and they're going to make sure that those methods will continue to work for you and make sure that you are well trained and you know exactly how to continue that work afterwards, because training and behavior are never a thing that's finished. We are always working with our dogs. Our dog's behavior is always changing. Our own behavior is always changing, and we adapt constantly to different environments, different situations, different conditions. So this is an ongoing process. You are never finished. So you can't just send your dog away and then get them back and expect them to now be fine with strangers or stop being reactive or their separation anxiety has gone away. That just doesn't happen. It's not an on or off switch. Once the dog comes back to their original environment with their original conditions, that was the environment that created the problem. So it will just come back if you don't have proper follow-up and handover from the place that you've sent the dog to. I'm now going to move on and talk a little bit about experience versus qualifications, because when you're looking through all of the dog trainers and behaviourists and the send away trainers and the in-person trainers and everything else that you come across, you will find a huge variety of people, from very newly qualified people to people that have got experience for decades and decades. And you'll find somebody that's in between that is ongoing training constantly, but also has lots of experience. That's a great person to work with. Experience brings a lot of benefits because experience helps us understand that dogs are all very, very different. When we've finished our training, we have a range of techniques that we want to use. But as time goes by, we learn new and interesting ways to kind of adapt those and tweak them. That is not to say that a newly qualified trainer or behaviourist should be avoided. They certainly shouldn't. That person has come from their training with the absolute most up-to-date techniques. They know all of the latest research, all of the latest science, all of the latest techniques. They're up to the minute. So don't think that newly qualified is a poorer choice, because these people, they know everything brilliantly. Your experienced trainer that hasn't had any training will be falling into old habits. They might get stuck in kind of a cookie cutter style approach where they have just one or two methods that they prefer to default to. So really consider what's important to you. Again, experience versus qualifications and accreditation. Some people feel very reassured by accreditation, but actually accreditation is just something that you can pay for. You sign up to a set of ideals and you pay for your membership to that group, and that's how you obtain your accreditation. So don't be too much on the accreditation, other than the fact that an accredited behaviourist or trainer has agreed to the rules of that organisation. So somebody who is accredited with the Kennel Club, if you go onto their website and check out what their values are, then any kind of trainer or behaviourist that is accredited with them has agreed to their set of rules and values. So you can be sure that those are the kinds of values that you should expect from your trainer. So something there in terms of accreditation, but really, again, it's just about feeling for that person and feeling who is right for you. The most important thing is check their values match your values. Check they're going to train the dog the way that you would like your dog to be trained, the way you think your dog would like to be trained, and then check for recommendations. These are the absolutely most important things for me. When you've read their recommendations, you can see that they can do the job, that they have been able to help people, and that's really all you're looking for. Can they do the job, and will they do it in a way that you approve and really like? You're going to have to do all this training, you're going to have to follow this advice, you're going to have to do it, but there is such a range of choices out there that really you have the pick of everybody, so make sure that they're the right person for you. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. If you have a question, shove it in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next video. Take care for now. Bye-bye.